Hey guys, welcome back to the HUSTLR show. I'm your host Jeremy and I've been running e-commerce businesses for the past 5 years already, and a lot of people ask me this question: what are the advantages of e-commerce over traditional retail businesses? Okay, so I just want to start off with this. In this age of digitalization, and like technological advancement, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who can notice this, right? More and more companies from every single industry are shifting towards adopting digital processes. They're transforming themselves to keep up to the digital environment that we live in, Their equipment, their solutions in their business operation is getting more and more high-tech by the day, right? And this trend is growing continuously at a breakneck speed, and and this not only happens among the big players. This technological advancement actually gives small players like myself a lot more power. Never have business people, entrepreneurs, startup founders been empowered to do so much with technology, right? So the general market is likely going to be influenced as well, because consumer behavior is no longer the same as it was 10 years back. Heck, even 5 years back. Now my dad buys groceries, clothing online. So just to give you a little bit of context over there, right, on how consumer behavior has changed. So things like e-commerce, Internet of Things, cashless transactions, cryptocurrency, artificial intelligence, all these tech developments are no longer out of reach from end consumers and new entrepreneurs, most importantly, right? So now that everyone can have access to these technology, it has given birth to, a super digitally literate society on a global scale. A number of internet users are already in the billions, right? And it's only going to continue to grow. And the rise of mobile phone usage, for instance, shows how consumers are increasingly becoming digital in their day-to-day tasks. You don't need to buy calculators anymore. You just use your phone, right? Some of you don't even buy cameras anymore, especially if you're not a professional photographer. So just to give you a little bit of idea, in 2019, the number of mobile phone users is forecasted to reach 4.68 billion. And that's according to Statista, a very reputable site, right? So 4.6 billion, that's about, out of 6 billion, that's about what? 80%, 80+% of the global population. So you see why e-commerce is the future, right? But let's go in a little bit deeper. If you're still not so sure, you're still sitting on the fence, right? So the influence of digitalization has also changed the way consumers shop, most importantly. Okay, and the buying experience with the help of mobile devices has migrated online as compared to an actual visit to brick and mortar shops. And even if they do, they're mostly there for price comparison. And more often than not, online retailers will be able to sell you the same exact thing for a much lower price because of lower overheads. And this is also supported in a report by Statista, where 21.8% of the world's population buys online. And that's about 1.7 billion people, and this is going to continue to rise. So if you want to reach a bigger audience, a global audience, you have to be online, okay? So the growing trend of online shopping is undeniably most impactful towards, the retail industry. The e-commerce is one major example of how the retail industry has transformed to cater to the need, right, to consumers, right? So the popularity of e-commerce is evident with the success of, huge companies like Amazon, Alibaba. Their core business, were started with e-commerce. Either, Amazon started selling books online and Alibaba connected their suppliers to the world via the internet. So another report affirmed that in 2018, e-commerce sales accounted for 11.9% of all retail sales worldwide, but it's expected to reach 17.5% by 2021. So you can see the extreme growth in terms of internet consumers, right? So this means that e-commerce offers a huge pool of potential buyers for retail businesses. If you had a retail shop in, say, New York City, you would be able to reach people within New York at most, right? But if you have an online store, you'll be able to ship nationwide and heck, even globally. So therefore, it is becoming increasingly common to see retail businesses to have both a physical store and an e-commerce platform because they don't want to miss that boat, okay? So there's still a portion of the retail industry who are very slow in adopting e-commerce into their business processes, or even opted to maintain the traditional way of selling offline altogether. Like these are the people who are just like, I don't trust e-commerce, so I'm not gonna do it. So the question for these people is, how can they remain competitive? It's going to be a real challenge for such an e-commerce believer such as myself. It's going to be a real challenge if you don't go online, right? So this is when e-commerce is no longer about keeping up with the trend. You're not doing it because it's trendy. It is now key to growing your business while at the same time maintaining a competitive run. So a report by MDAC, which is Malaysia's Development of Malaysia's Development Economic Development Corporation, has shown that e-commerce outgrows offline businesses by 13 times. So let that sink in, okay? Because this solidifies the perks and advantages a business could get when you get into e-commerce as compared to completely staying offline. So another prominent advantage of e-commerce is how it is positively shown to improve productivity and work efficiency. Like for my e-commerce business, it's super productive. We're taking in sales, we're taking in orders even when we're sleeping because it's automated, right? Compared to like a traditional retail business where you could only take orders during your opening hours. So that's already a significant advantage, right? So before digging further into the market potential that e-commerce holds for your business growth and scalability, let's first start with understanding how e-commerce works as a whole. How is it different from traditional business practices and how it can help businesses to grow, okay? We're gonna go really, really deep over here. So let's start with this question. For those of you who don't know, what is e-commerce? E-commerce is not a novel concept to the general market as it has been around for more than 20 years. It is undeniable that over the years, e-commerce businesses, the e-commerce business model has gone through so many transformations and has evolved into what we are familiar with today, which is going to a website, adding something to cart, checking out, and wait for the thing to deliver, right? So despite all the changes and upgrades, the concept of e-commerce remains essentially the same. The term e-commerce is shortened from, electronic commerce or internet commerce, which refers to buying or selling of goods or services via the internet and the transfer of money and data to execute these transactions. It all happens over the internet. If you're selling on the internet, it doesn't matter what kind of platforms you use. You could be using WhatsApp, people could be paying you using something old school like bank transfer. It's still e-commerce because you're selling on the internet. You might be already exposed to it, but you don't actually know that it's e-commerce. In my definition, e-commerce is whenever you sell online, you accept the payment online. That's e-commerce, okay? So it's often used to refer to the sale of physical goods and products online. It could even be services if you're a coach or an agency, an advertising agency. So e-commerce can also describe any kind of commercial transaction that is facilitated through the internet, which means it's boundless, right? As long as you sell on the internet. So it's very important to note as well that although e-commerce is closely linked to e-businesses like Facebook, Amazon, and stuff like that, these two business models are completely different from one another. E-commerce applies specifically to the transaction of goods and services, while e-business refers to all aspects of operating an online business. You don't have to know this difference, but I'm just going to put it out there, okay? So e-commerce businesses could have both an offline channel in the form of a physical store, for instance, an online channel such as an online platform at the same time for people to purchase products from you. So with that said, there are also e-commerce businesses with models that operate purely via an online channel. I'm one of these. I hate shopping offline, which is why I don't run any offline retail businesses. Right? So there are always two sides of the story, and there are very successful companies that have both these channels as well. So I'm not judging you based on that. So in order to have a deeper understanding of e-commerce, it's best to start by breaking it down according to the different types of e-commerce that you can find out there. So let's dig in deeper. There are many types of e-commerce businesses, okay? So when speaking about e-commerce, the majority of the market would agree that B2C e-commerce, which is business to consumer, you're selling directly to the end consumer, is leading in terms of volume and revenue with close to $2.5 billion in sales worldwide in 2018. So putting B2C e-commerce aside, there are other types of e-commerce business models, with buyers that could either be businesses and institutions or other organizations besides the end consumer. So generally, guys, there are 6 major types of e-commerce as mentioned. Okay, I'm gonna go deeper into this. So one very underrated segment is the B2B e-commerce. And B2B e-commerce refers to all electronic transactions and dealings related to the goods and services between companies. So the retail industry is one example of how B2B e-commerce could work. You could be a wholesaler, you could be a distributor, and for your retailers to purchase from you or your resellers to purchase from you, all they have to do is log into your wholesale portal or your distributor's portal so that they can order these stocks for their own business users. So Alibaba is one of the big ones. They ditched the Amazon model, which is entirely focused on B2C on the shopping platform, like not the other products. But Alibaba focuses in connecting suppliers to buyers to resell in their own markets or to process to an end product, right? So other examples, less known examples, are like IndiaMart from India, eWorld Trade in the US, ThomasNet in the US, Global Source in Hong Kong, EC21 in South Korea. So these are some of the world's top B2B e-commerce marketplaces, okay, just to give you an idea. So the second one we've already covered a little bit. There's the B2C model, right? It relates to the transaction and relationship between businesses and the end consumer at an individual scale. So an example would be something like Amazon, eBay, Lazada, that's very strong in Southeast Asia, Walmart, and even Taobao from China. And there are many other B2C platforms, right? There's JD.com as well. So it's evolved. This model has evolved so much where one could just find scores of online shopping platforms and virtual stores with the end consumers as the target market. And it's profiting very well in the retail space, with goods and products being sold from a myriad of categories ranging from gadgets, electronic devices, household items, clothes, apparel, plus many more. Another example of B2C businesses, I'm not sure if you know these guys, the internet marketing guys like Russell Brunson, they sell courses online and they deliver it to you online as well. But if you want to learn something, you go on Udemy, you go on Coursera, you pay them like a few bucks and you get to access like so many different courses. And because the transaction happens online, that is B2C e-commerce as well, okay? So you can also sell digital goods when it comes to e-commerce. So there's also the consumer to business model. And this is very rare, but it's the exact opposite of B2C e-commerce, okay? It's a reversal to the common selling and buying process, where the buying decision is in the hand of businesses over products or services offered by an individual customer. The relevance of these type of e-commerce model usually is heavily applied for crowdsourcing projects. One way to do it is when consumers will generate the requirements for businesses to fulfill. For example, if a user posted a request for a product or service or project requirement, and multiple companies will make offers and bids to win the project. If you've seen, stuff like Upwork or Elance, right? You could actually if you need something done, you could actually post a job on the internet, and someone on the internet on that platform could actually come and apply for that job. And because it's a service rendered, it's also e-commerce. It's much less common, but it is also a doable business model, okay? And then there's number 4, consumer to consumer, or P2P, right? And it's very straightforward, where it refers to the transactions of products or services between two end consumers. In short, consumer sells to another consumer with the help of a platform to facilitate the transaction, right? Something like, you know, Carousel, very strong in Southeast Asia, or eBay, where you could put whatever you have, you know, up on an auction, and people can just bid it. So that's C2C. There's a C2C model within eBay and stuff as well, okay? So number 5, there's B2A, which is business to administration. So B2A e-commerce might be among the type of e-commerce models that people are less familiar with, okay? For starters, administration here refers to public administration or government entities. This also includes, you know, some softwares or services that you can sell to governments through an online platform that you own. If you've developed a spying software, for example, and you want to sell it to governments, you can do so via the internet. All they have to do is log into your website, use your portal, and get their stuff done, right? And then number 6, this is the least common of them all. It's C2A e-commerce. And usually authorities, when they use like government bodies, sometimes they crowdsource ideas, or whenever they make you pay tax, for example, you might be able to pay your taxes over a government online portal, right? So that's C2A. They have a platform, you pay your taxes through that online platform, you don't even hand over cash. So that's actually e-commerce as well, you see, because there's money being transacted, right? So let's get to the next point, which is the list of advantages of e-commerce versus traditional retail. Number 1, it eliminates geographical limitation and time constraint. You could be anywhere in the world and still buy something from across the planet. So that is one of the biggest, you know, advantages when it comes to e-commerce, because it's very scalable. You get to reach billions of people right away instead of being stuck at a physical retail space, right? So number 2, it's cost saving. Everything happens over the internet. You don't have to drive out and burn petrol or gas just to get somewhere. You don't need that. And businesses can also fulfill it with you, fulfill the product or service to you via a logistics service, you know, that could be cheaper than you coming to the store and paying rental as well, like a prime retail space rental. I could be living in a super remote area, but as long as I have access to logistics services, I can get the products to you. Number 3, convenience. Come on guys, we're living in an age where people's attention spans are getting shorter and shorter. People are getting busier, life is more hectic. Having access to all these products and services in your fingertips via your mobile phone, via your laptop, gives you convenience. It helps you save time. So these 3 are the biggest, you know, advantages when it comes to e-commerce over traditional retail. Okay, and the internet also gives people an abundance of information. Whenever they want to buy something, they can, instead of checking with their friends for reviews, they can just go Google about it, right? So the purchase decision typically becomes shorter. Instead of, you know, you're wasting a lot of time when you go to offline retail stores and asking, hey, you know, does this fit my need? And then you're gonna doubt that salesperson, right? And then you're gonna do your own research, ding dong, go home, do some research, talk to some friends, and that's taking up a lot of time. If you're placed online, it's that easy, it's super easy to just buy from you, right? It's a few steps process. You add to cart, you check out, you get your product, right? And also, e-commerce has opened up a plethora of marketing techniques. Because of the power of the internet and JavaScript tracking, marketers and entrepreneurs like yourself can target your users based on their behavior. Never have marketers been empowered with this kind of marketing abilities. Before this, it was either TV ads, billboards, radio ads. It's demographic targeting, but it's not super specific. With internet marketing, with the internet, you can track people down to the granular level. How many times has this guy interacted with my brand? How many times has this guy checked out this product but have not purchased? If these guys tend to have a higher purchase intent compared to someone who just happened to watch your ad on TV or in the cinemas, right? So that actually sums up all the advantages, some of the advantages. There are many others, but I don't want to keep this video going for too long. But these 5 that I just mentioned are strong enough reasons for any entrepreneur, any businessman on the planet to want to make the shift online, okay? So I hope that this video has taught you the differences between the few types of e-commerce, as well as the advantages of e-commerce over traditional businesses, okay? So if you like what you see in this video, make sure that you hit the subscribe button, because we will be producing more of these content, because we want to help more of you succeed online, okay? And if you have any thoughts or whatsoever, I want to hear from you. Please leave a comment below. Bye guys.